All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to Golden Dice, episode 28. We are at here, and with me this week, I have our technician, really the smartest one on our team. I think he surpassed Tommy with his finish this weekend at CAPA Cup. We got Scott with us. Scott, how you doing today?
I stole Shane's name. I beat you, and I knocked Tommy out of the tournament, so I'm doing great.
Yeah, sounds like you had a great weekend. Shane.
Murdered all of my teammates.
Scott didn't actually do that. I forgot Shane did.
Yeah, Shane. No, yeah, Scott did not go to the event. Shane did it.
But I'll introduce our guest so he doesn't have to sit there awkwardly quiet by himself anymore. We have ex Thundershot, current Jackalmen, the man, the myth, the legend. We got Ray with us. Ray, how are you, man?
Good, Jack. I want to tell everyone this should be a pretty fun podcast because it's been a long time coming. Like I was just waiting for the call one of these days. Always wishing and hoping Jack would have me on because he won't say this out loud, but I'm probably his best friend in Destiny. He knows this. But yeah, tell your children to leave the room because it's probably going to get a little rowdy in here when me and Jack get together.
Especially once we get to round 3 of CAPA Cup.
Yeah, that was a dig. I'll take it. That's fine. Move on. Continue your setup.
Yeah, but for this episode, we're just going to talk about CAPA Cup, which was a tournament out in Hershey, Pennsylvania, that took place this past weekend. Had all the FFG Star Wars games. So shout out to Adam and his crew for putting that on. The prize support there was insane. Shout out to Arrowbrook, Jackalmen, and Discarded Reroll as well for all you guys being there and helping put on some raffles, some of the extra stuff. And then after that, we'll kind of start to dive into our thoughts on how this meta shaped out. We can talk about the free-for-all, the Battle Royale event that we did. And lastly, we got some 2 spoilers out of Italy we can touch on. And a spicy bet coming up with Fortnite towards the end of the cast. We'll mention that later. But we pulled, I think the final count, was it 27, 28 for Destiny?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, I want to say I forget. I think there was pre-registered people that didn't show up, even though like there was people like me that usurped others' names.
Yeah, I mean, we were around there, and it was close to 100 for the whole event. So, I mean, that's a pretty good turnout, I'd say, overall. It definitely felt packed. It definitely felt like there was a lot going on at the hotel room that we were in.
Yeah, it was nice because you could tell there were a lot of people there. There was a lot of tables and vendors, and I'm sure we'll get into all that. But it also had like a real kind of homey feel. The way we were in that kind of section of just the Destiny players. So I did like that. Like it was I guess, like, for lack of a better term, it was like kind of like an intimate setting that we had, kind of like off to our own. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, when it comes to space, we're definitely like the best bang for the buck. I mean, he fit 30 players into that corner where he probably had like 16 Armada players spread out across half the room.
Yeah, I mean, of all the FFG games, Destiny takes up the least. It's got the least carbon footprint from both the amount of space it takes and then the amount of time it takes. We got done 2 events before X-Wing was even done 1.
Yeah.
There he goes, flexing his intelligence again. Carbon footprint, ladies and gentlemen.
What
It
did
just
you
comes
get?
natural to him.
What did you get on me about? Superfluous?
Superfluous. Yeah, that's the one. He was. I think you were explaining like Sebulba's die sides or somebody's die sides, and you were talking about how they may come across as superfluous, and I was taken back for a second.
Well, you know, Shane's technically the most educated out of the podcast, but he's also Shane, so.
Yeah, but we don't even know he exists really at this
No,
point.
he doesn't. He
He's
might
like
be a
Force
myth.
ghost.
You've never seen him. Who's
So
met
anybody,
Shane?
yeah. Anybody who didn't pick up or understand the joke we had in the beginning, Shane was registered to come to Kappa, and then Friday, like, texted the group and was like, "Yeah, I'm not going." So Scott hadn't registered yet, so he just showed up and was like, "Yeah, I'm Shane."
And
so he had his badge and everything.
If it wasn't for Jack and Tommy, for some odd reason, ruining the joke and telling Shane what was going on, I could have gone through the entire tournament with just reporting as Shane, Shane would have been none the wiser, and he would have just been confused at home with why he's getting all this press. But those two had to go and be sticks in the mud and ruin it.
Tommy did it first. I just followed, dude.
All right.
I'll throw him under the bus like that. He's not here.
No, he's not. He did bail on us too. The Philippi brothers are the bailers.
My favorite part of the thing was that when you were 2-0 or whatever, nobody still had told him what you were running, and so Shane thought you were running his Rex deck, and he was like super proud.
God no. I would have had to take like that deck apart and remake it to just yeah. I tried it the night before. I wasn't having it. My favorite part is the alternative names that all of us got through the course of the event. I obviously was Shane Philippi, but then you had, Tommy getting announced as Tony Philippi, and then you had Tyler Flockton was now Tyler Flockington.
Hey man, I wouldn't really trust any of their handwriting, so
no, I don't really blame. It doesn't really help.
The guy that put it on. But yeah, the tournament ended up being 5 rounds of Swiss, around 28 or whatever. I don't remember. There was one bye.
Yeah, we started with a bye and then someone dropped.
Yeah. So yeah, it ended up being 5 rounds, top cut of 4. Shout out to the TO that put that on. But towards the end, he was like also trying to run a shop. He had some stuff he was selling. Yeah, I think that stress wore on him because the top cut was just best of 1 still.
I mean, it was kind of stinks. It was fine in the sense that like I wanted to do the side event that we had, and it afforded me the ability to do that. But yeah, it's it's a little different. It just kind of made it for like a 7-round Swiss or 7-round event, which from where I was sitting was probably not to my advantage.
I thought it was a little awkward. Like I had never seen just, hey, let's just do a 1-shot game for the cut. But I thought it was cool that you guys you kind of all agreed on it and were like, yeah, sure, let's finish this thing up. So that was definitely cool.
I mean, it was the type of thing like, it probably put me in a less advantageous position because at that point I was the undefeated player, and then moving through the top cut, it's like, if I just lose 1 game, my day's, done, even though at that point it just puts me even record with everybody else that day. But it's a casual event. It's, the last hurrah of the meta. And then obviously we had the side event going on after it. I wasn't necessarily like about to, put my foot down and say, no, we're doing a best of 3.
Yeah, definitely would be awkward if that had happened. But so Ray, me and you finished with the same record at the end. We were both 3-2. Scott was the champion of the Swiss, going 5-0. But as we all know, the person who wins Swiss never wins the whole tournament.
I mean, that's Joe's theorem.
So you should have scooped your last game so you could win the tournament.
I mean, that would have been the quote-unquote smart thing to do. I was worried going to that last game that if I had lost it, I would get knocked out of the top cut simply because I noticed that my first and third round opponent were playing each other, and so were my second and my fourth round opponent. So I didn't have the ability to gain, or I guess even lose any ground in the strength of schedule. It wouldn't have made a difference. My strength of schedule was very high, so had I lost, I still would have been in. But you definitely don't want to be in that bubble boy position, as Tommy's finding out repeatedly ad nauseum.
I think he feels comfortable there. He lives there.
Yeah, he finds comfort and solace in, waiting for strength of schedule to get posted and then, complaining about it.
I'm telling you, he's buying real estate right on the bubble there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I don't remember if this was before podcast smack talk or if we said this on air, but I brought Snowcat for Battle Droid. Scott brought that as well, and Tommy brought Yoda Luke and was abusing the force wave thing. And it was funny because afterwards when we were the top cut just came out, I think it was, he was talking to Chip, myself, we were talking to Discarded Reroll. He had a whole setup there going, and Chip was like, setup. So yeah, his was super high tech.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he was talking and he's like, so Tommy, like, he basically invented Snowcat for Battle Droid in your meta. He showed it to all your friends and stuff like that. And now he's running Yoda, Luke, and dude, he solves a meta and then he goes on to the next thing. I'm like, yeah, man, he really solved it by getting on the bubble. And then I think a little part of Tommy died right there when I made that joke.
Yeah, Tommy makes decks and then I play them. I don't make I'm not terrible at making my own decks. It's just not something that I'm particularly good at or that I particularly enjoy about the game. So I'm more than happy to, stand on the shoulders of other people and pick up decks. I'll tweak things to my own liking, especially with, Tommy's decks, because Tommy never wants to listen to me until I take it and then do well with it. And then sometimes we come to like the same agreement.
Now I heard, Scott, you're the type of player that can like pick up any deck. So I'm assuming now that you've finally admitted it out loud, any deck that Tommy makes. And
Yeah,
I heard you're really good with just like playing a deck for the first time and being like really efficient with it.
I mean, I think that's like that. This is going back like Tommy used to make the decks that I would use for like the Star Wars LCG back when we were playing that, and it was I would just be like, yeah, no, I'll play that. That sounds like a good idea. And it used to be like a running joke that I would decide what decks I'd be playing for big events like the night before. Be like, yeah, I'll play this deck this time around and end up doing well and end up like making cuts and doing well with it. I think for Destiny, especially with like the dice rolling mechanic, just getting a lot of reps of games in general and paying attention and watching a lot of games, you get a little bit of like an intuitive sense of where you're trying to go with stuff. I don't think that means I can pick up any deck and do well with it. It obviously, there's some decks that require very specific sequencing and a very like specific understanding of exactly what you're trying to get each round from them. But, other decks, I find I don't really have any issue going in cold. I mean, it's obviously beneficial when you have more reps with something, but going in cold to a situation, you also don't have maybe like preconceived notions about what you're trying to do with the deck, or you don't have like that burnout that can sometimes happen where it's like you're smashing a lot of reps and you just are just in the wrong headspace to continue along with it. Sometimes you need to take a break.
So the too long didn't listen version of that is yes.
Oh yeah, I talk a lot. That's a thing.
No, yeah, Scott is definitely like Tommy's the brains behind our operation. I think when it comes to deck building, but I think Scott is probably our top player. That's why we added him. Getting him in here.
I don't have Tommy's got a better showing than me. You got a better showing than me. Although I haven't been able to make any big events since going back to school. But we'll see about that. We'll see what I can do to embarrass the both of you.
I mean, you're the only one of us to win a store championship, so you got that over our heads.
Yeah. I mean, that's that count. I'm sure I would much rather have Tommy's Luke Matt than,
fair
half that title.
You don't like that Ahsoka with the first stamp on it?
Nah.
Nah, the shortest answer he'll give all podcasts.
Nah. That's funny. So, I mean, I guess we can even recap what we played against round by round, even if it don't really have to go in depth because I mean nobody's probably super crazy interested about that necessarily.
To be fair, my recap will be real short because I really only played against 2 different decks.
Yeah, mine was. I guess I played against 3.
Mm-hmm.
4. I guess I played against 4 different decks actually. I had some variety in there.
Why don't you lead it off then, Mr. Variety?
Mr. Variety. Round 1, I play a super nice guy, and he was playing Boba Hux. Just a 2-character deck, so I felt comfortable sitting down. He got a bunch of money, played Mobilize for like 1, and was sitting on a bunch of resources, but didn't draw into anything big. I probed away his friends in high places and his delve, so he eventually got an ATSD out, which I then deflected to kill Boba. And that's really how that game went. Nothing too crazy, but it was cool to see Boba Hux. But he was telling me he's really getting to Transformers a little bit more. So
did you hook him up with Joe?
His game. He actually recognized Joe. He's in that Facebook group. He's like, "Yeah, one of the moderators is here." I'm like, "I'm so sorry that you."
Oh God.
That guy was I played him as well. I'll get into that. But that guy was the nicest Destiny player I had ever met in my life. Like I felt
Yes.
bad, you know, doing some of the things that I had to do in the game to win, but like he seriously was the nicest guy. Like he would
Oh,
Yeah.
compliment you.
that was the game that you were talking about. Yeah, that's a you got a funny story to go along with that one.
Like you would do something good in the game and he would compliment you and be like, that was a really great play. And then he'd be like, you want to show it to me after? And I'd be like, yeah, dude, like I guess like we can we can do that if you want to recap this. But I didn't mean to cut you off, but that guy was like ridiculously nice.
No, yeah. When I deflected him, he like took the card and like showed his friend sitting next to him. He's like, "Look at this play that he just did. He deflected the ATSD." But yeah. So that was my first round. Ray, I don't even think we said what you were running. So you can dive into what you ran and what you faced in the first round.
Okay, we'll do it like that. That sounds good. So I
Hmm.
played Dooku Towson, just because I thought it was like a dark horse deck, going into Nova, and then I loved seeing what Nick Cuenca did with it. So, uh, after Nova, I saw that it was like placing here and there throughout the European nationals. So I was like, you know what? Let me get on the deck. It's super consistent. I guess the only downside is like its health pool. It's pretty low, but I had played with the deck for like maybe a week or so and really liked it. So that's what I brought. My round one was a against a Sienna Snoke Afra. They were all at single die, and it was pretty much the same as the Boba Hux. It was a Friends in High Places Delve deck. The only awkward thing about it was I didn't like understand which way he was going. Like the Snoke big vehicles or the Afra engine. It just seemed like really scattered and all over the place. At first, I was really nervous because I was like, I can burst out damage, but that's 30 health to get through, and I was like, yeah, it's gonna be pretty tough. Um, but I went in this order. I went Snoke, Afra, Sienna. I don't know. It just seemed like right at the time. Um, and yeah, I took round one.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
That's yeah, it's an interesting deck setup. I wouldn't exactly know how to approach it. I think it would just be a matter of just like start putting damage into something and then see where everything shakes up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean it had done well in some of the national. It might have been the UK. Like that, I think that deck might have been like undefeated
Hmm.
until the last round or something like that. And it's interesting because it goes like half and half, so it is split, like you said, Ray. Like it's still trying to get 000 and BT down, but if it gets like the Hellfire out and it starts readying that with Sienna, that can be pretty dirty. It's probably what he's going for somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seemed to like miss its mark on what the identity of the deck was trying to achieve. It just felt like it was all over the
Yeah,
place. But yep, that was it.
cool.
All right. So first round, I played a gentleman by the name of Mike, I believe. I'm reasonably sure it's Mike. He actually came in with his son, and it was actually really cool because he mentioned that he had listened to the podcast that Tommy and I had done the week prior and heard about the CAPA Cup and decided to come to the event. So that was actually really great to hear that, beyond doing this because I like to hear the sound of my own voice, that there was a actual, you know, real result coming from it, someone coming to the event. And I think both of them had a really good time. He was playing, I played against Yoda that round. I mean, it's a Yoda Hondo deck, but you got Yoda's essentially the big engine of that. Knowing that the biggest thing that threatens me in that matchup is Force Wave, I was able to really kind of win the game turn one in part because I put out a lot of damage that turn, but I used the Snoke power action on Afra's discard die when he had 3 cards in hand. So that actually got rid of 2 mitigation cards, which is why I was able to put out max damage into him. But then also it hit his force wave before he was able to get it onto the table. That really, the combination of not having to deal with force wave while also dealing, I think it might have been 9 damage turn one. That's a death sentence, and that's just going to be how if that's what happens, you'd have to like biff every possible roll. I don't even know if you could do that because you're obviously dealing automatic damage with the Afra engine. So it was just one of those things where using that for the discard. It was like the opportune time because I hadn't really rolled any damage that I could have snoked. I think I rolled the +2 on the battle droid, and that ended up getting comboed into the 9 damage I did. So it was just, all right, he's got 3 cards. The discard's showing. I'll take it, especially because he had been stacking up money at that point. So I figured he either had mitigation or upgrades that he was going to be able to play, and it turned out he had both.
You sent him home packing, dude. Yeah. Yeah, Force Wave, if you keep that off the table, you still got a good chance against anything. That's probably the thing that scares me the most, and we'll find that out in round 5. But going on to round 2, I play some jerk named Shane.
Yep.
I don't like him at all. He was a bully to me. It was a mirror match. Deck's probably a handful of cards different, but I mean, relatively the same. I started out at a advantage of damage. I was able to pump out, I was able to get Snoke power action off. I think I got the Pod Racer 2 indirect off. Got basically every die was resolved for damage. First round. So that put me well ahead in that area, but you got the BT 000 combo out.
Yeah.
Turn 1.
I opened, that was my opening hand. It was funny because the previous round I hadn't really started off strong with a good hand, and then this round my first mulligan, my first draw, I had both of those in my hand. So obviously I kept both of them, knowing that in the mirror matchup, whoever gets that engine up quicker is typically well ahead, because you're not only getting to draw more cards, but you're just starting that 2-for-1 damage exchange.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because I haven't really piloted that deck too much, and obviously haven't sat down at a mirror. Are you still using cards like Crash Landing for spot mitigation, or is that now a little less effective because it's really like a damage race? Assuming that you didn't have like the bubble shield out or stuff like that, because like you guys really in that deck don't have a lot of just straight mitigation other than like he doesn't like you and stuff like that. So
In general or in the mirror match?
in the mirror match, just in the mirror match.
Scott can obviously touch on too, but I probably still would, especially if I have 000 out, because if you figure they're gonna pay sides, maybe I stay away from. But if Afra rolls out, gets the 2 indirect, why not Crash Landing it so he can't Snoke power action, and then I still get to draw a card. And again, if you have 000 out, then you're doing a damage back. So it kind of depends on the situation. Like if just Snoke is left type thing, and I don't have 000 out, then there's probably no point in doing that unless to break up modifiers, stuff like that. But I still think it's a pretty useful card even in the mirror.
I mean, even if it's just to cycle it, it's basically a cantrip. It's replacing itself, so you're getting a card deeper into your deck. The main difference between I think Jack and I's deck is the fact that I actually do run a lot of straight mitigation. My version of, or the version of, that I used, because it was Tommy's cards, I didn't even bring any of my own cards, but the version that he has is more based on the version that I was running that had way too much mitigation. Obviously I had to pare it down. I went like panic mode and threw 15 mitigation cards into the deck. But I do have a significant amount of straight mitigation compared to, I think, Jack's deck.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Tommy, when I originally played his first brainchild, which was the Afra price battle droid when the set first dropped, it was jam packed full of mitigation. So I definitely know that that's how like Tommy likes to play with his decks.
I mean, I think it's just a matter of like you're just loading a ton of mitigation because you don't know what you're going to go up against. But then also it's with you're drawing with Afra frequently or as often as possible, and mitigation would be typically the most useful card to draw into in a lot of cases because you've probably already played your support or played your droid. So typically when you're starting to dig with the Afra action, the thing you're going to want to find is mitigation.
Right. Makes sense.
Ray, how was your round 2? Scott won that game, by the way. So you got it out. So.
It wasn't a blowout, but it wasn't. It got to the point where you're going to be close in that game. I mean, there's almost no way for it to not be. But I think I had you comfortably on a few action. I think I had like ample different ways in that last turn to finish you off.
Yeah, if I get through, maybe, because I knew I still had an illusion and a bubble shield in the deck, but even that, like, then I'm an action behind because I'm playing it, and
Mhm.
you can roll out and do stuff. So yeah.
All right, so my round two was against Snoke Thrawn. Now, typically, I will say this is one of those scenarios where like I just underestimate the pairing more than the player because obviously I didn't know this guy at all. But I've had some relative success against Thrawn Snoke with various decks that I've played, so I really wasn't too intimidated by it. But then I realized like Thrawn Snoke is kind of in like a good spot right now, um, where you really don't know what type of deck they're like what version or what variant they're gonna
Mhm.
bring. They can do the heavy vehicles, they can do the smaller vehicles, they can do the Grand Moff, kind of sprinkled in there. And you can get small indications like from the battlefield, but it was more of the deck that this guy was piloting was more of a small vehicles deck, and he just would power action for money and then swarm with a bunch of 2 to 3 cost vehicles. I will say it's like everything went right for him. um, I was feeling really good like uh, round two. My kind of upgrade setup was about as good as it can get for my deck. I had an heirloom on Dooku, a crystal ball, and a dark council, and a 4 speed on Mother, and I still had it binds all things out. So my setup was really great, and he hits me with a fallback, and I I completely panic, and I'm like, I don't know what to keep. And looking back on it, I probably should have kept the heirloom, but like I knee jerk panicked, and it was like a period where I was like, man, I haven't seen that card in such a long time. Oh my god, he just crushed like everything I built up to. Um, and then I kind of got a little tilted at that point and quick, kept the 4 speed, thinking I could, you know, continue to just burst damage through. And then I was like, all right, I could slowly rebuild. And then he Thrawn activates, see that I have some, he calls one, sees that I have, some decent mitigation in my hand, grabs one piece of the mitigation, and then probes me and says, I need to grab a witch magic and I need to grab a feel your anger. And it didn't come in that order, but he got both of them. So it just proved to me like I guess I never realized how good Thrawn is with probe. Like, okay, see if I need to use the probe, yes, and then see my probabilities, and then okay, probe you. So
That
it was rough.
yeah, that explains something we'll talk about a little later.
Did he have the Grand Moff combo going at all, or did he just not opt for that?
No, no, not at all. It was just a small V. Like he got 2 Fang fighters out first turn on me, the Hailfires. He was doing the Pod Racer, um, and his mitigation. It seemed like he always had money for a Beguile, a Mind Trick, and then the fallback. I didn't even see it coming. I thought a Hailfire was going to come down, and I was like, I could probably deal with that. Um, and he hits me with a fallback, and I was stunned.
Yeah, when you if you have a deck that can actually play fallback without falling behind while playing fallback, um, any circumstance that you can manufacture where that happens, it's always going to be pretty brutal.
Yeah, and he played it towards the end of the round, which was even more devastating. Like it wasn't, he mitigated everything and then played the fallback. So like I didn't see it coming at all because I would think that as soon as you get the money for that fallback, if you know you're going to play it. Because you could mitigate, or lessen the amount of dice that are going to be rolled into the pool. But he hit it
Hmm.
like all my dice was mitigated or I resolved, and Thrawn was in a really bad spot, and then he hit me with the fallback, and I was like, what is going on right now? So it was pretty rough. So he won. I lost that round.
What did you opt to keep? You said you got rid of an heirloom. What was the upgrade you
I
kept?
kept the 4 speed. Like I think I panicked because I was like, it's just so good in that deck. It's almost like key to make that deck like oppressive at times. And then I had the it binds, out there. I was like, all right, maybe I could slowly start to build up again. And I really didn't see any other upgrades like that were too impactful. I think I threw down an ancient later on Dooku, and it just wasn't enough. He just overwhelmed me.
That'll do it. I mean that. I mean, I think Thrawn Snoke with the Grand Moff is one of the most impressive things within the meta. Especially what's that? The Jedi Temple or whatever. Discard 2 events from a opponent's hand.
Yeah,
That's brutal.
it's rough. And then you activate Thrawn, and grab their next
Take
best
another
card.
one. Yeah, it's like, all right, what other card did I want from their hand? But yeah, all right. Any other thoughts on that, Ray? We're gonna move on to round 3.
No, just well played by that guy.
Yeah. All right. Round 3, 1-1 at this point. I sit down across from a guy who I could kind of tell hasn't really played Destiny much before. I kind of felt bad playing him. You know, he just seemed like he was happy to be here and was enjoying his time, seeing the prizes, seeing everybody,
He played
hanging
him
out
with
with
a dick
friends and stuff
deck.
like that. Yeah. And then I absolutely just blew the top off of him and just destroyed him. And um, I saw him later drinking a beer, so I think I was the one that caused that. I think his name was Ray. He was playing Dooku Towson. Yeah, just stomped him. Absolute stomping.
That was quite the setup. And for one split second, I'm thinking to myself, was it the guy playing the three Death Troopers in my head? And then quickly remembered that now we're talking about round 3, and that's when me and Jack played. So you know what? I'm gonna this is your podcast, this is your show. I'm gonna let you enjoy everything you just threw at me. I'm gonna let you continue to take the same deck to multiple events, much like the dark days of, hey Jack, what are you gonna bring? Probably just Sabine Ezra. Um,
At least he wasn't lying about it then.
no, he wasn't.
No, even in the buildup of like Worlds and even like the last regional, I was just like, yeah, I don't know. Sabine seems done. And then I just showed up Sabine.
At least he's consistent. I mean, that's one thing.
Consistently scummy.
Yes.
Dude, it's not like I
Agreed.
was swerving anybody, telling you to be like, hey, play original Palpatine. Trust me, 15 health.
You were
You don't.
you were
That's
trying. You were
all you
trying to get
need.
me to play Kylo Snoke.
See, that's what made me change. Yeah, first me and Tommy were gonna bring Luke Yoda, and then you said, Tommy, build me a Kylo deck, and then I swerved. So you're the real reason
I was actually
of that
considering
change.
Kylo Snoke. I've had a lot of fun. I went with like the more artificery Sith holocron package, and that's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, seemed brutal, Nova.
I think Paul from Arrowbrook Gaming, he was saying like he completely derailed Frenchie because he told Frenchie to bring that crazy Elite Yoda Maz Gungan deck, and
Yeah.
Frenchie didn't have a good day.
Yeah.
I
I think
mean,
he finished 1-4,
yeah.
maybe.
I don't think I've ever seen Frenchie have that bad of a day.
I just saw him and Joe with their hoods up in the back of the room, just looking miserable.
Joe's.
I mean, Joe brought a trilogies deck to a standard.
I told Joe though, and he's probably gonna hate me. He's gonna think I'm such a jerk. I told him I was like, that's a cop out move. That's like saying that's like going to a regional, back in the day and being like, I'm bringing Mill. So if I do good, I'm a hero. If I don't, it's Mill, guys. Like it is what it is. So I told Joe like, you bring a trilogies deck to a standard event, that's your cop out. That's because you can always fall back on that crutch and say like, come on guys, I brought a trilogies deck. So.
I think World's broken, man. He hasn't been the same man since that Chance Cube incident.
He's got his robots in disguise.
Yeah, he's got Transformers now. He'll be all right. Ray, as for our game, I feel like it just was the standard Afra versus the 2-eye deck. And you got the Witch Magic off turn 1, which made me a little nervous because there wasn't much damage on the board after that. But I'm pretty sure I was able to win on like a pod racer trigger with the Hailfire already out.
Yeah, I was feeling good. So like you rolled an Afra and then you hit the 2 range pay 1 and you quick power actioned it. And I was surprised, but then I was like, you know what? He's probably just trying to burst down Mother Talzin as fast as possible, and then just everything's just going to unload into Snoke. Like it doesn't matter, he has 12 health. But yeah, it was what I feared. I didn't know, and I still don't know, like against that deck, if taking the initial, because I won the roll off, if taking the shields would have been advantageous because I'm playing on that Dathomir battlefield, the Rift Valley, and I just thought to myself, all right, well, if I could pass and pass, because I'm probably going to claim before him or be in that position, maybe I could just like remove a 000 dice or BT1, that annoying like last dice that just rolls in. Um, and I thought like maybe that's a little bit better than the 2 shields, but yeah, it was just an uphill battle. It's too small of a health pool.
I mean, I think you removed more damage potential dice than 2, which is what you would have got with the shields, 2 extra life. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad choice. See it either way.
Yeah, the game changed. I feel like I know the exact moment. I felt like I was in it and we were doing okay. It changed when you drop like the slave one at the end of turn two, like going into turn three. And I was like, oh man, I don't know if I can compete with that. Because you already had such a an established amount of supports out. And I was like, the slave one was just like a dagger. And I think you rolled it out and hit like the 3-for-1. And I was like, oh man, this is gonna be rough. So and at that point, I was spreading the damage as much as possible, but you can
Yeah.
only spread it so thin.
Your deck did you dirty twice, I think. I mean, you have 4 evens, and I think you
Yeah,
revealed twice.
that was rough.
So
So it was what it was, though. No, it was what I expected, but yeah, you just overwhelmed me. I didn't like losing to the double pod racer, but it was what it was.
I love the
oh,
pod
that's like
racer.
my favorite.
Um,
That's like uh that's like one of my favorite ways to win the game.
yeah, because you're dirty. That's why.
It's like something out of hand where people are just like,
Well, that
oh,
deck has like
I didn't even
a dozen ways
think
to
about
win
that.
out of hand.
Yeah.
And I love it. But that's like the most insulting because it's like a pod racer.
The pod racer does so much
Yeah.
damage in that deck.
Dude, it's like if somebody wins off a riposte, you're just like, oh, you had shields, I saw it come in, it's a good card. And then it's just like a double pod racer. Oh god. Like, are you kidding me?
I will
I mean,
say the pod racer didn't defeat me. It was the dice that was already in the pool. I was like, I can't mitigate that. Hopefully, maybe I can claim and get out of the round alive. And then you played the pod racer, rolled it in, and it was a blank, and you're like, oh, but I got the 1 damage. And then it went back to your hand, and then you I think we got into like no, you drew off of Afra. Um, and then you found the second pod racer or something, and it was like bam, bam, or you drew into it. Um, and yeah, they both came down like super fast, and I was like, I think I just put the hand out, and I was like, yeah, I can't do anything about what you just did, and then the dice that's already in the pool. So
Yeah, something along that. Sounds about
mhm.
right. All right, Scott, how did you do round 3?
So I played a gentleman by the name of Josh, and I played another mirror match. So it was 2 in a row for me. This one was um, insanely close. Like I was down to 2 health and was able to win with an out of hand damage dealing, and it was just the type of thing where I opened with the preferred or classic Afra setup of one of the 2 droids, followed shortly by the other droid, but he opened up with the big ramp setup of the Hailfire tank, and then he proceeded to drop a pod racer right after that, and then he dropped the second Hellfire tank a turn later. That's 4 damage just off having played those things, plus those Hellfire tanks. Their dice are pretty aggressive, so it was that's 2 different openings the deck can have. It's great that the deck can have 2 different openings because it ups your chances of having at least one of them happen, and they both tend to have very positive outcomes to them. But I do think getting the synergistic droids out is probably the better opening. It takes a little bit less resource. It takes less resources to get going. They have die sides fairly comparable to the Hailfire tanks. You're not getting that auto damage from the Hailfire tanks, but you are starting the 2-for-1 exchange, and you are starting to draw cards. And I won by I think 2 damage, and I dealt a lot of damage off of 000. Utilizing by any means. I turn that into, all right, I'll deal myself 1, I'll mitigate 3, but I'll deal you 1 and I'll draw a card. And had I opened similarly with a Hailfire tank, then that card doesn't do that, doesn't deal that damage. And, the fact that I only won by 2 damage, that was definitely, from 000 triggers throughout the game, and I won off a 000 trigger. So I think if you have the option of what to start with, your best bet is one of those droids as opposed to the Hellfire tank. But the Hellfire tank is a nice third option to have.
Yeah, I agree with that because I remember facing similar situations where it's like my opening hand, I could have had like 000 and a Hailfire in my hand, and always the deciding factor of which one do I play type things. And there's just different strategies, as you said, different openers. But I always felt like, yeah, the droid duo was the best one to get out as early as you can.
I think that is the case. I think if you were to like run that scenario, especially in the mirror match against each other, a bunch of times, I think opening with the droids is going to be the better route to take. Also makes you a little bit less dependent on the battlefield. He got the battlefield, so he was able to do that. But conversely, if you don't have the battlefield in that situation, it's a little harder to open up with the tank. And then obviously, him getting the battlefield meant I had 2 more life. And considering that I won by 2 life, that was the difference.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I mean, that's what I basically ended up happening for me in round 4. If we want to segue into
Segue.
that, is that I played a mirror as well in round 4 against Tim. Super nice guy. I really don't remember any specifics about the game. Um, Part of me thinks that I feel like he had like a delves. I actually don't remember what his deck was, but I mean, we were chatting more so than play. Getting crazy with playing and stuff like that. But I think I just started out ahead. I saw an early bubble shield. I got 000 out, and the rest is history. It's just was that game of getting 000 and a bubble shield out. Just put me ahead on health wise, and he just wasn't able to catch up or really see any of his stuff. He might have got like BT down and something else, but I don't quite remember exactly. So
You said
that was my
he
round
was
4.
playing Delve, or you couldn't remember?
I couldn't remember. Part of me thinks he was, but I don't.
Yeah,
I don't exactly
if he
remember.
was, I do not like Delve in the like Afra engine. I just think it's awkwardly costed, and then like you're gonna get, obviously like your planetary bombardment out, and that's cool. Like that certainly speeds up the clock. I just feel like I rather have so much more in my hand. But I guess it works if you're drawing into stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I get the draw mechanic, but again, I mean, I don't think you need it. I think you could just stick to the droids, pod racers, Hellfire, and Slave One.
Yeah.
You know, and at that point, all of those things are going to cost at least 3. So uh,
Delve isn't
there's
worth
really
it.
no. Yeah,
No,
exactly.
yeah, I
It's
don't
not.
Yeah, I
like it.
mean
It's
it's
not worth it.
it's a card that you're really living the dream if you get 000 out and then you're delving for things. Um, but that seems greedy,
Yeah,
and not in like the greedy as a positive. Sometimes you want decks that have these greedy plays because that puts your opponent away. It kind of closes the door to the game early, which can be really good. You obviously want to capitalize on any momentum that you have, and so having a closing play that might be a bit greedy is pretty good because it can kind of lower your variance. But I don't know if that's a good greedy play.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
All right, Ray, what'd you face round 4?
So back to your round 1, I faced the Boba Hux gentleman, and
Yes, this story.
he was such a nice guy. But okay,
I don't know if I know the story. I'm excited right
I
now.
don't. Yeah, I think I told just Paul, Tommy, and Shane Scott, whoever it was.
Everybody but Jack.
Yeah, everybody but Jack.
I see how it
I
is.
left
Yeah,
you out of
he
this.
didn't want to talk to me after
No.
round 3.
Yeah.
So I got in a position where I obviously knew that he was a newer player, and things were really casual, and he was even asking me about my card sleeves and things like that. So I just kind of went through the motion. I drew into like an amazing hand, and I was like, oh man, this is just going to play out itself. Like I had the 4 speed going and all, and I was kind of just going through the motions. And he was playing, as we were talking about before, the delve and the friends in high places. And where Jack said he really didn't hit on much, he hit every single time he played it against me. So I kind of just said, all right, as long as I can mitigate these big dice, Boba's halfway dead, Hux is not a threat. So I get into the spot where I'm feeling pretty safe. And I have 2 shields on Dooku. So he's at 14 health because he didn't put a lick of damage into him. And he's actively going after Mother Talzin. And I was like, that's fine. So I think it was probably just me not assessing the situation correctly. But I throw a Force illusion on Mother, kind of playing to the fact that he's a newer player, and I'm like, maybe he'll switch targets and he won't be able to kill Dooku. Like he's just too big. Or it'll entice him to like, oh, I want to, throw some damage into that thing, knock it off, and then keep killing her. So I kind of played it there. I really didn't have much mitigation in my hand, and I was just really hoping things didn't get out of hand. There was like one ATST down, and he had that ion blaster, that 5 cost blaster on his Hux. So Hux was like a bad dude at this point. Um, and he rolls in.
Hux isn't a threat.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, he rolls in with the ATST, and he hits the special. And I'm like, okay, I'm still doing okay. Like I was at this point, I'm thinking I might just claim and grab that. Um, and I kind of waited, and then he plays a delve, and he delves and gets a second ATST out. And at this point, I'm like, okay, all right, this is pretty sketchy. What's the max damage he could do? And I'm like going in my head, I was like, all right, but what are the probabilities of him doing that? And he had like 1 card left in his hand. So then he rolls in the next ATST and he hits 4 or 5, and I'm like, okay, cool, I could deal with it. And he's got resources, like a lot of them. And I'm like, all right, I guess I could like it. I might lose mother, but everything's gonna be all right. And then he rolls in Hux, and he hits the 5 pay one on that giant blaster. And at this point, I'm like, I'm kind of getting nervous. So I have no mitigation in my hand, and I'm like, I don't know what to claim and grab something. So he rolls. I think I claim early, and I grab like some irrelevant. Like his Hux rolled a 2 focus. I claim and grab that. So he discards the last card in his hand, and he rolls in the other Hux dice and hits the 2 focus. So I know this is long-winded, but because I'm still like stunned. So he like, oh wow, that is 15 damage, and he goes, I will kill Dooku. And he says it like super happy. And I'm thinking to myself, like, there's no way you just one-shotted Dooku with 3 dice. He had 14 health. So I go over to the guys and I'm like, yeah, so like I won. I made it out of the round. Mother got his heirloom and it was okay. But I went over to the guys and I was like, bro, I just got, Dooku just got one-shotted by Hux and Boba. And I think it was either, no, it was Scott. He was like, wait, did you say Hux? And I was like, yes, yes. So that was my experience. I still pulled the game out round 4, but just boys and girls, Dooku, and that's the new Dooku from Way of the Force can get, he can get one-shotted with 2 shields.
Yeah, that's never gonna happen again.
No.
That reminds me a little bit of we mentioned when Adam was on of the first kill, the first blood. Whoever kills a character first over the course of the whole tournament, so like in round 1, out of all the games, gets like an extra little prize.
Mhm.
The winning kill was on Obi-Wan.
Yeah, that's not.
Obi-Wan, the one where he rolls out, gets a shield. I'm just like, the guy raised his hand, and I know the guy Dan who runs Obi-Maz. I was like, oh, did he get? I guess that guy killed Maz really quick. And so I heard him say, yeah, he killed Obi. I was like, what is happening? We're like 2 minutes into this round.
And I'm running and a few people are running a battle droid.
Yeah, exactly. That reminded me of that, dude. Some crazy one-shots were going around this tournament, I guess.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, at that point, like everything got a little tense, and I was like, I have to crush this guy now. Like, you don't
Yeah,
do that.
I mean, you better. I mean, otherwise Hux is gonna roll over you with that disruptor cannon.
I think it would have been one of those things like after we're all hanging out and like, hey, would you just play Boba Hux? And if I would have lost, it would have been like that kind of would have been bad. So because I don't
You
think
would have gotten
Hux
made
is,
fun of for.
yeah,
You'd
yes,
still be getting made fun of.
this is true. So
I was really pulling for him.
I'm sure you were. I'm telling you, he's the nicest Star Wars Destiny player out there by far.
Nicer than Kevin.
Kevin's a goofball. We just bring him at events, and he's more like entertainment than a competitive player. He's gonna be so mad. And yeah, he's a lot of fun. And then you just gotta wait for the Kevin laugh, and it's everything's good in the world. But nah,
I was on stream. After somebody said they could hear him, like Kevin's. I think it was Ashton. Actually, was just like I can hear Kevin's laugh.
it carries pretty well.
Yeah, he did well though. Kevin did well. I was glad. to see that, even though he was playing Mill.
Yeah, because Kevin, like, he tries really hard, but he really does show up with like jank decks, and they're not going to perform, but he wants to be the pioneer. And we kind of just got on him and we're like, listen, dude, if you want to be competitive, like, bring some stuff that can do something. So he loves his mill, and he brought the millionaires, or the three wide hero mill, and he had some success. So yeah, I'm real proud of him.
Awesome. Scott, how was your round 4?
Round 4, I faced this scrub by the name of Tommy. You know, not much to say. We had played. I mean, he had actually played this game. He and I used his Afro deck so that we could get some testing in, and I was having issues against the Luke Yoda deck simply because he plays out of Force Wave on Luke, uses it against me, and then moves it to Yoda and uses it against me again. That's hard to deal with. You're eating a lot of damage. It just doesn't work out that well when that happens like that. And we played, I think, 3 games. I think he took 2 out of the 3, but then he played a few games with Shane using the Afro deck, and it went not well. It went the way you'd expect a matchup involving 2 characters to go against a deck that kind of thrives on preying on 2 character decks. He can shield up a lot because obviously Luke can shield instead of doing damage, and then Yoda is always going to give you a lot of shield. So he definitely has the ability to do that. But short of getting the Force Wave out and then getting a resolution, or even getting it mitigated, because then I can't mitigate it a second time usually. Short of that, it's a tough matchup, and that was kind of what happened in the round. I was able to open up pretty stronger than he did, and I think in that matchup, if you open up equally as well, the Afro Battle Droid Snoke deck is going to win. And obviously, in that case, if the Afro Battle Droid Snoke deck opens up better, then it's definitely going to run away with it.
And into round 5, that's what happened. Tommy started off better than me. I'm salty about it.
Can I say something about that Yoda Luke deck? I feel like it's such a good counter to the meta. Like, I get it, but it's such like a petty, like, teen angst counter to the meta. Like, all this indirects flying around. Afra's like amazing, and I feel like it smells like Team Spirit should be like playing in the background as you pilot that deck. Like, it's that much of like I hate the current meta. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna resolve Force Wave twice a turn for 2 turns.
I mean,
you want to run 3 wide? You're going to take 12. Be happy.
I mean, that's we'll talk about it a little later, but that's kind of what you got to do. Like, if you want to stand up to Snoke, turning a 1 indirect side from the battle droid into a 3 indirect on top of all of the damage he's going to focus you into, you got to be coming hard with double Force Wave resolves. Like, that's your counterplay. That's how big you have to go to really kind of compete.
Now, do you think that falls into like the category of just a straight counter deck, and then you fall into that trap of when you're trying to counter a specific archetype, then you could be kind of weaker to others, or do you just think Force Wave is just a good call? So it probably could compete going down the road.
I think Force Wave is just a good call. I mean, Snoke Afro Battle Droid is not the only 3 wide deck. I mean, you have Mill. That's a 3 wide concern you'd have to consider. You have Tacos. That's a 3 wide concern you'd have to consider. So a lot of the really good decks are 3 wide decks. I mean, that's some people, that's their bread and butter as far as what kind of decks they want to bring. And then, from there, it's, you're not doing anything too dissimilar to Hondo Yoda. You have less like on the special chaining thing, but, Luke can deal damage by himself. He actually has damage sides, whereas Hondo has sides that are very damaging at times, but then can just be paid off towards the late game. They can be automatically mitigated. So I think it's not doing too much dissimilar to Yoda Hondo. Obviously, you're not getting the yellow mitigation and everything like that, but it's the same basic premise. Like, Force Speed good, Force Wave good, Yoda good. It's just good.
Yeah, I might have to.
That's the,
Yeah.
that's why I kind of made the joke that I really didn't play that many different decks because yeah, I played the mirror for the battle droid, but then I also played Yoda Hondo twice and then Luke Hondo, and I'm like those are kind of the same deck. I mean, at least as far as the approach to playing them, they want to jam out force wave and force speed, and so that I can't, mitigate the dice ever. Whereas I need to come out strong and hope that they don't get force wave or actively keep mitigation to always mitigate force wave in every chance I get. And that's the same whether I'm playing Hondo Yoda or Yoda Luke.
Yeah, I think it's a good deck overall, but I think it's definitely thriving in this current situation. But yeah, I wouldn't say it would be bad in other matchups, but maybe not necessarily as strong as into like a two character heavy aggro one, but still could probably just be fine against that
I mean,
anyways.
would the Afro deck one of its money plays is activating a droid that deals you 1 damage and deals your opponent 2 damage. So would you really not want to force wave twice, even if one of those damage has to go to you?
Oh yeah, yeah. Dealing 5 and a resource, yeah, to take one is definitely, yeah, it's definitely good irregardless. But other like basically other decks two wides are probably packing more mitigation if you're going all in on like one die to do that, and they don't have the like Hondo. It is similar, like you said, with their tactic of what they're trying to do, but you don't have to deal with the struggle of either stopping your ramp and giving them ramp or taking 3 damage, which is more than Luke would do. So there's like different
Hmm.
aspects to it, but I mean, like as you said, I still think it'll be a good deck into to most matchups, but probably not as efficient as it is into the 3 wide,
Yeah.
especially Afra, because Afra just can't. If you're running, especially what Drew and uh, Cody did for Nova, where they basically their only hard removal was he doesn't like
Hmm.
you, unless that like rolled the 2 indirect and they could crash landing it, or if they got lucky with hidden motive type thing. Because that's the tricky part about hidden motive. There are a few times even against Tommy in my round 5 where like he rolled a special on that. Sure, I could hidden motive it, but like I have to get the special, or then he just special chains back into it and resolves it anyways
I
type
mean,
thing.
you
So
still got to try. You got a 1 in 3 chance of removing it. Better
yeah,
than eating it all the time.
yeah, you got to try. You can't just do that.
I've said before though, it's the most disheartening thing when you hit and motive a Yoda die for special and it gets the two focus. You're like, I don't know if I'm in a worse spot or not.
Probably depending on what upgrade dice are
Right.
out. But yeah, I played Tommy in my last round. He abused Force Wave like it was his job. And if you want to get a real feel for how he or how the game played out, he used Force Illusion 3 times, thanks to Luke's training. So thanks, Tommy. Real great
Yeah,
game. Real love Force
that's
Illusion.
living the dream, man. I almost
Yeah.
feel like you wouldn't be able to do it because you'd run out of cards.
Well, I mean, you're only blocking 2 or 3 damage in art. It's not like you're blocking like swings of 7 or 8 at a
I'm
time.
thinking of I'm framing it in the from the Afra standpoint where it's like, all right, I'm blocking 3 damage. I'm like, yeah, but I'm also drawing a bunch of cards. You can run out of cards real quick when you use Force Illusion in that deck.
I
Yeah.
think that was what because Luke's training was spoiled and it went across all the discords, and that's what I said. Like I was like, oh my gosh, this is broken. If you pop your force illusion, you can bring it right back. And Jack was like, yeah, but you'll run out of a deck. And now, like 4 to 5 months later, or wherever we're at, Jack's like, it was amazing. He beat me with it. So good job, Tommy.
Well, again, in the like that specific after like running into the after one, if he's force illusion, like the most he's gonna do for is
Hmm.
3. Like where like in our game, right? I force illusion twice for like 6 and 5 or something like that. Like, and at the end of the game, I had no cards in my deck or whatever it might have been.
Yeah, that was like if you didn't drop those timely force illusions, I will confidently say I probably would have had you. Um, and then I was like in this situation where I was like, man, could I mill him out? And yeah, you drew into your last 4 cards, but at that point your board state was overwhelming. But yeah, no, those force
Yeah,
illusions were very timely because
but that's what I mean is like in our matchup, if I somehow had a card that was Luke's training, but for villain, like it would have been useless because I wouldn't have been able to force illusion a third time. I didn't have a deck at that point. I think it's just like against those small pings where you could play it a few times and that saved him, somewhere from 6 to 8 damage, which is a good thing to stop.
Mhm.
On top of the shields he's taken. So he ended up, he had both characters alive. Towards the end of the game, I couldn't get any damage through. He had illusions down on both characters. I'm doing indirect. Yeah, I get rid of one of them. And then, he played back the other one. And that was that game. So 3-2.
Womp 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 womp.
Question, and then maybe people are going to be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you didn't know that." So I ran into a scenario where I had a force illusion on Mother Talzin, and a planetary bombardment die got resolved against me. So I'm helping the public by asking this question as well as myself. I kind of just went with what my opponent said because I was like, I don't want to cause a conflict or call a judge at the CAPA Cup. I had 5 health left on Mother Talzin. I had the force illusion on him. He goes to resolve the big damage, 7 side on the bombardment, and he was like, you can only take 5 on Mother Talzin. The rest has to go to Dooku. And I was like, oh.
Oh my gosh, you don't know this answer, dude?
Okay.
You
I haven't done
bum.
any competitive play since this whole way of the force meta, other than a few store champs here and there, and I don't think anyone knew at that point. So
Yeah, so you would, if another character's alive, you can't over assign, even if you're blocking it, if it's from
there
one
you go.
source.
Just edit this all out.
So,
don't worry about it.
Oh no, this is staying in. This is staying
On loop, just repeated.
Yeah, this is the whole podcast, an hour of, can I do this?
And it's like, I beat Ray round 3, and then it loops. Can I do this?
Mhm.
Can I do? Then we lose 50 subscribers.
Yeah, now if you had just Talzin alive, and even if she had 5 health left, and he resolves that 7, then you would have to force illusion also.
Okay, makes sense.
But yeah, if you have 2 characters alive, you can't over assign, and then you'd have to dump the rest onto whatever.
That's why I asked the fellow 3 and 2 competitor. I mean, we'll learn together, Jack.
All right, look, this is the last time I show up to an event with teammates. I did great without you guys, right? I did fine at Worlds. I made top cut at Nova, and then all of a sudden, you and Tommy are like, "I'll go to tournaments," and then you guys knock me out.
Hey man,
you know what Jack says to me? He turns to me at the end of the tournament, and I was like, "Oh well, it's really great that your team had a good showing." And he goes, "Yeah, it really takes the pressure off me for when I go to future events. That I now know that Tommy and Scott can kind of champion the golden dice." And I'm like, that's the same cop out that Joe used with the trilogy stack.
Yep.
So.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I can stop doing well. And, I hit above my weight at Worlds, and I can never, I'll just let them ride it out. They can take it. Not getting back there. So, Ray, how'd you do round 5?
What is my round 5? Let me think. It was a Cassian Finn, just extremely aggro, hit and run, quick draw type deck. Again, I don't think I'm in the lower tables at this point, but I don't think he had much experience. He was younger guy, like 15, 16, and he just was falling into that trap of discard to reroll for more damage, discard to reroll, hits a bunch of modified sides, and one base side, and I was like, remove the base side. So I think that was the kid that his dad came out with, and Scott played in round 1. So I was just talking to him after about did your dad get you into the game? Did you get him into the game? And just trying to build that whole tradition within the family. And I always think it's really cool when families come out. We had that couple from Iowa that drove 15 hours or something, dropped off the kids at their mother-in-law's, and then continued on just to come to CAPA Cup. So I'm always all about that. But I will say, anytime...
And Shane can't even come
yeah.
with a free ride.
Shane can't even get in my car. Yep. Is what he can't even meet at his brother's house for me to pick him up and take him.
I'm telling you, you gotta watch out for this, and you'll notice this. Anytime you see a father with younger kids, I'm talking age groups from 9 to 16, watch out for any one of them, because usually they end up in the top cut. One of them, either the dad, the kids. I'm telling you, it's like a thing. They probably just get ridiculous playtesting at home every night, but um,
I know Isaac all too well, being
yeah, it's
in
crazy.
Jersey.
Like it always happens. So watch out for the father sons teams that are out there.
Scott, how's your round 5?
So round five, I earned myself the bounty that was being offered through the day. So the bounty was a part of, I guess Adam that was running the CAPA Cup kind of set it up, and that was his funny way of sticking it to Paul. So Paul had a target on his head. Anybody that beat him was going to get a prize. Well, this was round five, and both of us were undefeated, so nobody had done that prior. And it was another Yoda Force Wave deck, and he didn't see Force Wave that early, and I saw the normal Afra stuff that leads you to typically beat a 2 character deck, and that's kind of what went down. It's a funny matchup because my lines of play are very apparent. Like I know exactly, I'm playing breakneck speed, and that's part just because like I know exactly what I need to do in that case, and I just play fast in general. Meanwhile, like he's rolling this fistful of dice that has like 9 different symbols involved in it, and he's got to be like, I got to go into the tank a little bit because I'm like, yeah, you're going to resolve all of your. You've got force speeds out and Yoda specials and things like that. It's like, yeah, you're going to do your entire turn in one action or one series of resolutions, and then you'll be done. So like, yeah, sit and think for 5 minutes because you have your turn is one thing, like one series of resolutions, and that's it. But yeah, it comes down to like you just didn't put the pressure out on me early, so it got to the point where I'm just casually paying. I'm casually taking damage from Hondo because I'm like, well, I'm not near death, so I don't need to bother mitigating it now. I'll just save the resources for like replaying Pod Racer. I think I replayed the Pod Racer 3 times in one round, and I ended up getting the 2 damage on it at that point. But that's just how greedy I was able to get, where it was like I'll take 6 damage from Hondo. I just need to put the 2 extra India because I've put so much pressure on to begin with. And the bounty turned out to be an executioner, so I clearly chose the right time to win.
Nice. I thought those executioner spot glosses were sweet. I was about to just go up to the table and take all 3 and be like, well, they were never.
Yeah, they did have him sitting out
Yeah.
in the open in a unrestricted area the entire time.
table.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say that's shout out to FFG for doing that. If they start supporting like grassroots type thing, like CAPA Cup, or if anything else is popping up across the country, I know other people have been running tournaments like this. So if they support it like that, I think it's gonna bode well for everybody involved.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
Hidden motives were handed out as well too.
that definitely
Each
helps.
player
Yep,
got one.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, so I mean, like prize support was above and beyond, irregardless of FFG. But everybody also walking away with a hidden motive is super awesome.
Weren't everyone like clamoring for those? Like, what event handed them out? Nova? Gen Con.
Gen Con started it, and then they were at Nova.
Yeah, people
as well.
were like paying a lot of money, and even on eBay, like I'm pretty sure they still go for a decent amount. So like we were talking about that with Paul, like that may have just paid for your price of entry, just like right there, which is just amazing that you know you show up to an event, you pay a certain amount, the money goes to charity, and then the director or organizers of the event like hand you basically the money right back to you.
And Scott got 2 executioners, so
I
he could
did end
make
up with 2
a
executioners.
good profit on on this. The top, so they got 4 executioners.
Yeah,
The one was for the bounty that Scott won, and then top 3 also got
yeah.
executioners.
It sucked to be 4th place.
Yeah. I mean, so that wraps up our Swiss rounds. Scott, if you want to, I mean, I know you had a rematch with Paul in the final, but if you just want to go over quickly what you did in Top
So,
Cut.
like we said, it was a best of 1 game. So I got paired with Flockton and his DJ Talzin deck in the initial round. And I don't know if he just didn't see enough mitigation. I didn't give him enough dice to mitigate. I also know his deck doesn't run really any additional damage dealing upgrades. So it was just a matter of I running more mitigation than that deck typically does, was able to just mitigate. DJ kept rolling twos, and I just kept mitigating them. So it really kind of capped the amount of damage he was able to do. He wasn't able to mitigate that many dice, and that pairing doesn't have that much health. So it becomes a really kind of uphill battle in that sense when he's not getting like really advantageous removal, and I'm removing his stuff. It just didn't work out too well, and it was pretty solidified win pretty early. And then the rematch with Paul, which that always sucks because you're thinking playing against, even if it's a matchup that you like, both of us I feel probably feel that matchups in the Afro Battle Droid Snoke side of things. Even if you think that's the case, if you're playing against a good player, you're going to lose some games to them. So in a best of 3 format, that obviously you'll feel like the matchup will work out in your favor more. But then when you're doing best of 1 after you've already beaten them, you're like, I'm probably gonna end up on the wrong side of this at the wrong time, and that's what happened. I mean, he saw a first turn Force Wave, and then he saw a second turn Cunning, so that kind of creates that same situation that Tommy's deck leverages all in the same turn, where you're getting hit by two Force Waves, and then he even had such a stellar first turn where I wasn't able to Snoke anything because I never was able to roll into anything, while he was able to deal 6 damage with Hondo's dice. So that's the best possible start that you can have. And that was the one game where I really just didn't start kind of like balls to the wall with one of the droids and another upgrade. I think I had like a really lagging turn 2 where I didn't actually play any sports. So took the loss on that one. So I finished, I guess, 6-1 on the day, which you're never going to be mad at a 6-1 record. But obviously, if I could have reversed the order that the win and the loss had come in, that would have been preferable to actually winning the event.
Yeah, I mean, those were interesting games. I got to check out a little bit of them. I remember looking at when you were playing Flockton. He was the DJ Towels in the first round of Top Cut. I remember looking over and just seeing the amount of damage on both sides. I was like, "Ooh, it's not looking good for Flockton right now at all."
It just I came out pretty strong, and I hit some pretty strong probes in a lot of different games. I hit Tommy and I hit his mitigation. I hit Paul and hit his mitigation, and then Flockton's entire hand's mitigation, so it kind of doesn't count. But probe was a big strong play, and I played it at opportune times and got opportune results from it. And that's it's always good when you obviously don't want to be playing probe into a 5-card hand, but sometimes you might as well. But when you're playing it into a 3-card hand and you hit the 2 events, you're feeling pretty good. And when you're playing into a 4-card hand and you're still hitting the 2 events, that's more than you can expect.
Yeah. All right, so that'll wrap us up for our standard talk of CAPA Cup. We're about 10, 15 minutes somewhere out. Who knows where this will be edited down to a little bit. So currently it says 1 hour and 14. So we're over a little bit, but I want to dive into the free for all a little bit. We had some other stuff on the agenda, but I figured we could talk free for all and kind of start wrapping up from there. I really enjoyed it. It was awesome. The way it was handled too of entry was a canned good to play in the event, and all of that got donated to the Pennsylvania Food Bank. And Chip really organized that aspect of it. So it was really awesome to kind of see that, because people went above and beyond. Some people brought 4 or 5 just for themselves for their entry, because it's going to a good cause, of course. So I kind of got to head that up as Chip got a little busy towards the start of school year and stuff like that. And I basically just kind of took what they did at Nova and ran with that, because I really enjoyed it there. And it was a lot of fun. We added one extra thing that didn't get caught at Nova, and that was we banned climate disruption array.
Yeah,
because in a system where you get points based off damage done, if you jam that down turn 1, that's 6 points right there. And then if you play Magna Guard, you're obviously going to get an extra value out of doing that. So it was pretty broken. Wasn't a good experience. But I mean, sometimes people just reacted to what was in front of them, and sometimes the red villain player just got blasted off the board, and that was that at Nova. But here we had some different stuff. I had a blast. I really enjoy this format. I think it's a good one. I ended up going with the trusted informant. Didn't look at anybody's hand for the first
Three.
like
It was
4
three turns. It was
activations.
the first three turns,
And Scott reminded me of his ability. I was like, you know what, Scott? I want to look
and
at
there was
your
nothing
hand.
there for you to look at. There's a bunch of supports that would go onto the table. There's all mitigating supports that I'd have to play onto the table for everyone to see.
Yeah, I don't think I cared what anybody had because I don't know if I was going to play around anything anywhere. It was more just I liked the highest health yellow character without a pay side. I think is what the trusted informant was. So I rolled with that. Highlight of the day was, I guess, two similar situations. I killed Chip with a rig detonation, and then I killed Brian pulling off rig detonation twice. So that was that was hands down my favorite, and it's funny because there's no diplomacy in that because only one person has the battlefield. So.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good card though in that format because like everyone's like squirreling away resources like the first 2 turns if someone's not dead by then. Um, so yeah, you can probably just shave off the last little bit of someone's health when they have 3 resources.
Well, Brian, I got to do it. Well, so he was at 5 because I had Mazavald out, and turn 1. So actually, round 1 and against Brian, I played negotiate and removed both of his dice, so he couldn't do anything. So he just claimed. So he had 2 resources. I played Maz's Vault, so he had 5, and luckily he did play like a 2 cost something down. But then I rigged detonation for 3. I convinced the other guy in the game to put damage into Brian, and then when it came back to my turn, I had another rig detonation. I played that, so I did 6 damage off the rig detonation and killed his Wookiee warrior.
That is pretty
It
funny.
was a blast. And that was free for all is awesome. I would encourage anybody who's looking for something to do before Across the Galaxy hits to try out this free for all battle royale event. You can go to capacup.net. They still have the rules up on there, so you can feel free to message our Facebook page or find me on Discord or whatever and figure that out. But what were you guys' thoughts on it? How'd you guys enjoy? How'd you guys do in the free for
I
all?
mean, I did better than you since I beat you on that first table when you were the only not Rebel Commando in the entire grouping.
Yeah, what was it? You, Chip, and
Yeah,
Tim?
all Rebel Commando. I don't know how I did anything in that round because the first round of the game, all of the damage anyone dealt went into me. And then I don't think I don't think anyone dealt any damage to me for the rest of the game.
No, because then we were kind of scared. You put like an honor guard down. You had a pretty good board. But it was funny when you sat down. I was like, guys, he came in second. He got enough prizes. Let's just get him out of here.
I kept on, I would roll out some damage and I would have these mitigating supports on the table and I would just use those. I'm like, if you touch me, I'll shoot you back, and then next turn I will mitigate whatever you put out just to spite you. And that was effective. Nobody shot me after I got a little setup going, and I was able to actually win the table. And I ended up with like 1 damage on my character because I healed using every red healing that exists.
Yeah, I rolled out with I think she's broken in the format. She might have to get a balance of some sort. They need to establish it. Is the Jedi Sentinel? I had heard that was a popular one at one of the I guess Nova. Yeah, Nova. I heard like that name kept coming up, like Jedi Sentinel, for the Battle Royale. So I was like, screw it. I'm not gonna look at like reach out to anybody. I'm just gonna put together this fun deck. And I think like Scott can attest to this. Like I I don't think there's a standard deck that could shield up as fast as I was shielding up that Jedi Sentinel.
No.
It was they'd hit me for 2, like my action put 3 shields on her. And then
yeah,
it was pretty ridiculous. Like the breakout cards in that were Fearless, the 2-cost upgrade. I've always just really liked that card, but it says when you activate your character, put a shield and draw a card. So I had like a little sweet loop going on with Luke's protection and that. And yeah, I played defensive stance, Luke's protection, pacifies, raise saber. I mean, I was just shielding up like crazy. But one of my favorite moments of the whole entire time was I was playing in a pod with Scott in our second pod.
Yeah.
And I put down like my turn 1 play was put down training remote. And and Scott looks at me and his eyes get really big, and then he kind of like shakes his head like, I like that. I like that play. Because it's the most garbage card that would never see standard or competitive play, but it actually works really well in Battle Royale. So I had a great time with it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
The Rebel Commando works really well in Battle Royale, and part of that is just because you have you have a Crate Speeder and a Y-Wing and C-3PO. Those are really good red hero cards. And that guy, he has 10 health, so he's a little bit harder to kill. And he's non-threatening. Being non-threatening is very important in the Battle Royale, because if you look like you're too much of a threat, everybody at the table just decides to kill you, which is exactly what happened to Joe. He's playing an executioner. He puts 2 executioner axes on the thing. Everybody's getting kind of like close to the point where if 2 people concentrate on them, someone will die. It's like, no, Joe, you can't be alive for that. You just have to die.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah, you got to die at
Meanwhile,
that point. There's
Frenchie's
no
really stacking
3
up the
dice.
damage by just pinging off Ray's shields.
yeah, like in hindsight, I didn't realize. I thought I'm gonna shield up and tank out, but Frenchie's. I'm putting 3 shields on, and Frenchie's resolving his veteran stormtrooper 3 indirect on my Jedi Sentinel every turn. Like that guy left out with like 20 something damage that pod. It was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was third in that pod because it came down to you and I, and he still had more points than either of
Yeah,
us.
like I would even go as far as to say combined, he had more damage than both of us. Like he was ridiculous. I remember he was just kept flipping, um, his damage tokens over and over. And at one point, we're like, wait a second, like there's not even that much damage, on the board between our characters. And then we're like, oh yeah, he just keeps throwing it into Ray's shields. So
Yeah. But here's the thing, Frenchie didn't even win.
no, so
Someone else must have been
He came
farming even worse.
he came third,
Second.
or did he come second?
I
don't
came
remember
in
if he
third.
second.
yeah, and then I was
He
fourth.
came third.
So, but Joe's sneaky. I'm telling you, that's a
Yeah.
format for Joe, because I was in the first pod with him, and I'm trying to pick up like the political cues that people are giving me, or just reading them. The guy to my left didn't know him, but he was playing a Gamorrean guard. He was just happy to be there, swinging for the fences. Um, Joe sitting quiet and just playing upgrades, and then like passing and stuff like that, and passing.
Yeah, Joe didn't activate for like 10
No, and he
actions.
did that the first pod, and then Kevin is also just happy to be there, and he's like, "I'll heal you, Ray. Like I have a medical droid down. Like I can heal you, whatever." And I was like, "Kevin," and I would just like smack him with damage. I was like, "Just be quiet. Like get out of here with your clone trooper." Um, but yeah,
That's
I
funny.
think it's like the most fun I've had. The second pod with Scott was by far the most fun. I got probed twice by Frenchie.
That's why you're so
I heard
bitter
you.
about
I was
it.
like,
That's great.
why?
Everybody heard how bitter you
Who
were.
plays probe in that format? Like, oh, I'm gonna strip them of all
Frenchie.
mitigation.
Yeah, that was a blast. I think everybody. I didn't really hear or see anybody not having fun. It was great because people were just talking too. Like it's one of those formats where it just gets everybody just talking to each other. It's
I
great.
mean, I think Chip was a little salty in the first one where he all of a sudden went out real quick.
Oh, and finish them off with
Yeah.
the rig down. Yeah, it was because we were going into you, and the people started to pile into me, and then I just turned to him. I was like, "I'm sorry, Chip," and then rig detonation,
That's
get
your
him off the
Destiny
board.
dad too.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just how things work out, man. Cool. Any other thoughts on CAPA Cup as a whole?
No, I just think that we should, always highlight that this was a charity event. And
Mhm.
we touched on that, but I think that that's really, the thing that we need to hammer home is it's amazing that Adam and his team that organized the event, um, that they were able to put together such a well organized tournament for each tabletop game. But at the end of the day, like we were all able to do that with great prize support and have a lot of fun. And FFG even, kind of gave their blessing and sent support and prizes. There was just so many, factors to make this such a good event. But at the end of the day, it was for charity. So I feel like it was, a win-win-win because, the charity got got what they needed. We got the competitive play, and then we kind of won twice, but and then we got the great prize support. So yeah, I think it's just a great event, and I can't wait for next year.
Yeah, agreed. I hope it's around the same. This October seems like a sweet spot. And I talked with Adam, chatted with him a little bit, and we're looking to maybe add a second day of Destiny, whether it's trilogies or what takes shape. But I think there was a little bit hunger from the people to play some more Destiny. Seeing that it was a whole weekend type thing, whereas Destiny was just Saturday. Obviously, X-Wing kind of demands like a 2-day thing like that, and Armada as well. But I think it'd be a lot of fun if some of the Destiny guys, we were able to stay at the hotel, hang out all night, play Destiny, Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, however it works out. So
yeah.
I'm excited. So if people are in the area and you guys didn't go this year, I would definitely try to book in your calendars and keep an eye out on Facebook for when the new dates get posted. So it'll be good.
Agreed.
We're gonna start to close out here. Ray, where can they find you? Where can they find your content? What are you guys putting out? Just hit us with whatever you got.
All right. So I am one of now 5 members of Jackalmen Games, and you can find us at jackalmengames.com. We're really excited about the website that we've been launching, and also YouTube. Just type in Jackalmen Games. We're on Twitter, Facebook, the normal spots. So reach out, let us know, and we just love making content.
Cool. Yeah, sounds good. I'll have a link to your guys' website in the description of the podcast, and from there, I'm guessing they can get to anywhere. They can get to Facebook, Twitter, Patreon.
Yeah, it kind of links to everything, and we're really just pushing the website right now because it is like the hub of all of what Jackalmen Games is. We brought on members Jeff and James, really good players, and actually like kind of crazy good writers, and like out of nowhere. But yeah, so they're writing some articles for us. Seems like we've gotten a really good response, and I think that we're moving towards that direction of like podcasts and articles. We really want to take a page out of Golden Dice. My favorite program.
Yeah, I don't know if I think you want to take it from somebody better.
But no, I think that that's what we're really kind of pushing hard, and we have taken like a step back from YouTube, but there's still hundreds of videos up there, so go check them out.
Awesome. Scott, you got any final thoughts? Any things you want to say before we close on out?
I am a better Shane than Shane can ever be.
Is that good? Is that bad? Like, I don't know.
It's a low bar. It's a very low bar. You guys had to come knock on my door to even get me to go to the tournament. So this was,
that's true.
Not even waking up.
Scott almost pulled a Shane.
I almost pulled a Shane, except I hadn't registered for anything.
Fair.
And I'm holding a deep-seated animosity towards you, Jack, because you made us stick around at CAPA Cup and we missed Hershey because of it.
Hey, that wasn't necessarily my fault. I said
you were the one like, let's hang out for a little bit longer.
I said, what do you guys want to do? I'm open for whatever. I'll stay, hang out, play more games. And Tommy was like, yeah, man, I'm up for some more games. And then he played, not me.
You preyed on the guy that can't get out of the house.
You preyed. I think I have to say my Shane thing. I think he's irrelevant at this point. I think you guys got to move on.
Oh,
the guy is never around.
The man's got 2 articles in the works right now, and you say he's irrelevant.
Done.
I don't blame you.
Maybe we should not have the person that gets called irrelevant writing the articles. He's got to do something.
Yeah,
He's got to earn He's got to earn that paycheck.
Yeah, exactly.
That we don't pay him.
Exactly. Nobody here makes any money anyway. So when I make money, you guys will make money. No worry. Shane is transferring to more article oriented. So if you see articles, it'll be from him. If you don't see him, you know who complain to. If your name's Alan, you probably love him regardless anyways.
Mm-hmm.
What does he sign the articles as? Like the artist formerly known as Shane? Like I feel like he's a mystery.
He doesn't have a name anymore.
Yeah.
I took it.
It should just be a symbol.
Shane 0.05
Yeah, the
or
Prince.
0.5 or
Just do the
whatever.
Prince thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what he signs as. I'll have to message him and ask him and see what he says. So keep your eye out for the first article and see how he signs it. For us, for Golden Dice, if you're listening on YouTube, we're on iTunes and all those good stuff on the whatever Google uses as well. I forget the name already. It was a while ago. We're on there. If you're on iTunes, we're on YouTube. We got Facebook, Twitter. We have a Patreon page as well, where you'll get access to our Discord, just a place to kind of talk and hang out with us and share decks, just talk about Destiny or whatever it might be. We got some cool Golden Dice tokens coming up. And you can check those out. They're on our Facebook page. I believe I posted them on our Twitter. If you're looking at them, I'm super excited for them to come in.
They're pretty cool looking.
Yeah, that'll be for our $10 tier. So if you're looking to get them, you can subscribe. That'll be our November rewards. So 2 weeks from today, you got till. If you
I still think my ideas for the $100 tier, I still think they're solid gold.
Oh yeah, the make Jack show up to a tournament in like an adult clothes.
Yeah, not basketball shorts. I said tuxedo, and there's a few other things springing from that.
Yeah,
I think that's a good and viable idea. And we floated this out there, we could have Tommy choke Shane unconscious on camera.
live stream.
Live stream.
I mean, I like those ideas, but we'll get a new one up. Yeah, because we're kind of getting around there, so we'll get a new $100 goal up as a thank you to our patrons. Last thing, we have a bet going on in our Discord. Inception versus Mended, and I somehow got thrown in there. Inception is betting that Way of the Force comes out on the 8th, and Mended is saying anything after that. If it's on the 15th, though, then I suffer the consequences. So the consequences.
I thought the bet was the 15th was the cutoff, and Inception takes the under and Mended takes the over, and you get the push.
Oh yeah, I mean that's an easier way to say it. That's why you're smarter than me.
Yes.
Over under on the 15th for the new Across the Galaxy set. If it's on the 15th, yes, then I suffer consequences, and they are you have to play on Shane's Fortnite stream with him for an hour. You got to do duos in Fortnite with him.
So, Shane will just try and carry your butt.
Yeah, and he probably can. I played with him before.
Yeah.
So Jack, you have skin in this race? Like, what's
no,
your
it started out as a bet between them. First, it was going to be a $20 bet, and then they were betting over under on the 15th. And then at first they said it was a tie, and then Inception's just like, no, Jack's got a stream. I was like, how? What? So I somehow got pulled in.
I think it's going to be later than we all anticipate.
Dude, I hope not. I hope it comes out the 8th. I don't think it'll be the 15th because Keyforge is released that day.
It's not available by retailers yet. They cannot purchase it.
Yes. And we're 3 weeks out though. Way of the Force was 2 weeks notice. So depends what happens next week. We'll see.
I don't think we're getting it.
I mean, we'll notice if we start if everybody's having to scramble around to put out content for spoilers.
Yeah. Yeah. I just hope it's out for PAX Unplugged. That's just like my big thing.
Yeah, I'm not down to play another tournament of Snoke versus Yoda with slight Talzin diversion.
Yeah, I'll probably, if that happens, I'll probably just do side events and explore the weekend. I'll probably do the standard tournament, but I'll probably skip.
I can get through one standard tournament playing Snoke after Battle Droid because I really do enjoy playing it, but I can't get through I wouldn't be able to do jam all 3 days.
No.
Just because I feel like I'd be playing against the same decks.
The funny part is that you could use that deck all 3 days.
Yeah.
Slight changes, but this essence of that deck is still very much real in trilogies.
Yeah, it's not too much difference.
Yeah.
All you got to do is ask Tommy.
Yeah.
Tommy's the one.
Make us a deck, Tommy.
Yeah, make you a deck, and then Chip coins him as like the Goodwill Hunting of the meta. He just figures it out. He figures out the problems, and then
If you ever got insight into Tommy's process,
you'd be scared.
He puts a lot of work. He puts a lot of thought into it. That guy is he's always constantly like, what about this? What about this? And I'm just like, no, I don't. Come back to me later when that's something like you got to get it like 5 steps past where your concept's beginning at before I even want to like talk about it.
Did you ever see the episode of Always Sunny when Charlie worked in the mailroom? That's basically what it looked like in Tommy's like upstairs game room.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He had a
before
Pepe
Gen
Silvia
Con.
thing going on. I've been dying to talk about Pepe.
And then you just tell
Carol.
Tommy to go back to the drawing board. I'm sick of doing Charlie work. I feel like Scott is oh my gosh, that's so funny. Scott's definitely what's the brother? What's his name?
Dennis.
Scott is the Dennis. That would make Jack D then for sure.
I'm not a bird. That's Shane.
Shane's Mac.
No,
Yep.
Shane's definitely D. He's the butt of all the jokes. He's the bird.
Oh
Yeah, I
my
guess
God.
so. That would make you Mac.
That would make
Yeah.
you Mac, yeah. But no, Scott is definitely Dennis.
Guys, I'm not fat. I'm just accumulating mass. Okay.
I'm bulking. That's what-
Well, stop cultivating and start harvesting.
oh my gosh.
Hey Ray, like I'm hurt.
My image of you
That's
is extremely shallow. It is. After seeing your shoes, listen,
Oh.
when he was in the top cut, I have pictures of his shoes. I do.
I couldn't tell you what they were.
Oh, they're fashionable. They're highly fashionable, distressed and trendy.
I just to provide our listeners with something that they don't need to know, like, I just had to do like a accounting firm mixer thing, for work purposes. So I'm, currently podcasting. I'm wearing like, a suit and tie.
Amazing.
So just to help Ray's image.
All right, you two are
The opposite of Jack.
Little chitty, yeah, opposite of me. Basketball, t-shirts, sweatpants, anywhere you name it, I'll be there in that.
Jack's
that,
so stressed out.
get
This is
up.
the longest podcast ever.
That's so much editing.
Just leave it all in. Just raw dog it. Send it.
No, I mean, I generally don't cut anything down, just the breaks, or sometimes Zencaster likes to drift a little bit, which is super annoying. But all right, so we normally give our final thought to our guest. So Ray, you will have this the sign out, the goodbye. Unless you insult me, then I'll come back and say something and then cut it.
Okay.
So Ray, sign us off, man.
I feel like we've been here for a while, but I hope you guys enjoyed another great episode of Golden Dice Podcast with your host Jack and my new favorite member of Golden Dice Podcast, Scott. Thanks, guys. Come to CAPA Cup next year.